A series of leadership changes, economic pressure, and rising social discontent in UK politics have brought a critical question back into focus. Is Britain gradually becoming an ungovernable state? British historian and political biographer Anthony Sheldon, who has written biographies of the last 8 British prime ministers, believes the country's political stability is now facing a profound crisis. When he began this work in the 1990s, a prime minister would typically remain in power for a long period. But today, the pace of leadership change has accelerated so dramatically that a new prime minister may emerge before a biography is even finished. After Labour's major victory in the 2024 election, many had hoped that Britain would regain stability under Keir Starmer's leadership. But in less than 2 years in power, Starmer is already facing pressure from within his own party. Following Labour's disappointing local election results, discussions have even begun about replacing him. If that happens, Britain would have its 6th prime minister in just 7 years. According to Sheldon, Britain is by no means ungovernable, but several recent prime ministers have pushed it in that direction. In his analysis, weak leadership and policy failures have further deepened Britain's current crisis. While he describes Boris Johnson as a leader of big dreams, he believes Johnson's tangible achievements were limited. By contrast, Liz Truss's tax-cutting agenda triggered major economic turmoil, forcing her to resign after just 49 days, making her the shortest-serving prime minister in British history. By the time Rishi Sunak took office, public trust in the Conservative Party had already eroded significantly. Sheldon's assessment of current Prime Minister Keir Starmer is even harsher. In his view, while Starmer is personally honest and responsible, he lacks the political vision and strength needed to confront the nation's crisis. By pledging not to raise taxes during the election, Starmer's government is now struggling with fiscal constraints. As a result, it has been forced to seek revenue from smaller sectors, a strategy that in many cases is increasing public dissatisfaction. According to analysts, Starmer's greatest weakness is that he has yet to clearly convince the public what kind of change he actually wants to deliver. In Sheldon's words, a prime minister is the nation's chief storyteller, but Starmer has no story. However, Starmer's supporters argue that the situation is not entirely negative. Waiting lists in the National Health Service have declined somewhat, and relations with Europe have become more stable in the post-Brexit era. Even so, critics say the general public is not truly feeling the benefits of that process, and it is this frustration that alternative political forces such as the right-wing Reform UK and the Green Party are seeking to capitalize on. Meanwhile, Andy Burnham's name is increasingly emerging in discussions over Labour's future leadership. The popular mayor of Greater Manchester is viewed by many as a potential prime minister. His stance in favor of business-friendly socialism, strong public services, and the restoration of state control has given him a distinct political identity. Under his leadership, Manchester has become one of Britain's fastest developing cities. Analysts warn that if alternative leadership fails and right-wing forces become more organized, Britain's political crisis would deepen further. In that scenario, the question would grow even more pressing: does Britain still retain the capacity to be effectively governed, or is the country gradually moving towards deeper political instability?